Hi, this is Denise Gamino. I'm a feature writer at the Austin American-Statesman, and I want to tell you about a story with photos by my colleague Jay Yonner that will be running this weekend on Memorial Day. We're going to show you something the public has never seen before. We're going to take you inside a jumbo jet filled with Army soldiers that are on their way to war. I came up with this story idea a few years ago when I was up at Fort Hood to do a story about troop deployment. I noticed that there was a big jumbo jet on the tarmac, and someone let me go inside of it before the soldiers boarded. I was surprised. It was huge. I guess I had an image in my head of soldiers going off to war in big cargo planes that are so noisy you have to wear earplugs, and everybody sits on webbing instead of real seats. But this was a real comfortable airplane. It turns out that the soldiers going to war ride on commercial aircraft with all the amenities, and I knew I wanted to tell that story. So last summer I started working with the Air Mobility Command and World Airways to get permission to ride on one of the troop deployment planes. World Airways made a big name for itself during the Vietnam War. It flew most of the troops over to Vietnam, and then after the fall of Saigon, it went back and rescued thousands of children in something that was called Operation Baby Lift. Once we got clearance for this story, Jay Yonner and I went out to Fort Hood on Wednesday, May the 6th. And in the terminal, we saw soldiers who had just said their final goodbye to their families. Some of them were sobbing. Some were eating snack food, and some were just staring at the walls. Out on the tarmac, there was a one-star general who stood at the bottom of the stairs. He shook each soldier's hand as they boarded the aircraft. All the soldiers took their weapons on board, but the ammo had been taken out and it was down in the cargo bay, so there weren't any loaded weapons. The minute the plane took off, Jay and I jumped out of our seats. He was taking pictures the entire 3.5-hour plane ride, and I was on my feet the whole time too. I was interviewing flight attendants and talking to soldiers. And anyone who knows me knows that I'm a white-knuckle flyer, but on this trip, for some reason, I didn't get scared. It just seemed to pass like a blur. The crew was so much fun. They were just shooting one-liners like soldiers shoot bullets. But they were also very respectful of the soldiers' circumstances. They realized that they had just said goodbye to their families. The soldiers, for the most part, were very quiet. They seemed to be kind of lost in thought. Most of them put on their headphones for their iPods or watched this James Bond movie that the crew put on the big screen. I met one soldier who was huge. He could have been a linebacker. Big, tall guy. He was so afraid to fly, his doctor had prescribed anxiety medicine for him. But he said the flight was so much fun that he didn't even need the pills. He was talking to the flight attendants and grabbing all the snacks that came down the aisle. We landed in Bangor, Maine at 11 p.m. It was 41 degrees outside, and there were dozens of townspeople and military veterans waiting inside the airport to greet the troops. Everyone had to get off the plane because there was a crew change, so the soldiers had a chance to stretch their legs. We thought this would make a perfect Memorial Day story. I hope you get a chance to read it and to check out Jay's photos and a slideshow on statesman.com. We hope you enjoy it.